The cargo hold reeked of fear and desperation. Maya Chen sat in the corner, her small frame pressed against the cold metal wall as she watched the other captives. Most were hulking creatures from various worlds, scaled Vorthak warriors, chitinous Cleith soldiers, even a few massive Gorvani berserkers, all of them captured, all of them destined for the same fate. The arena. Maya had been working as a research assistant on the Outer Rim colonies when the slavers struck. While her colleagues ran screaming, she had hidden in the laboratory storage until the raid passed. It hadn't been enough. The consortium's slave hunters were thorough and humans were becoming increasingly popular in the fighting pits. Not because humans were strong. Quite the opposite. "Look at the tiny thing," rumbled a Vorthak, his voice like grinding stone. His massive clawed hand gestured toward Maya dismissively. What sport could such a creature provide? It will die in seconds. The other prisoners laughed, a cacophony of growls, clicks, and roars. To them, Maya represented easy prey, something to be torn apart quickly before the real fighting began. She had heard the stories during the long journey. The arena masters liked variety in their games. Predator versus prey was always popular with the crowds, and humans had gained a reputation as perfect victims. Small, soft, with no natural weapons, no claws, no fangs, no armor plating. Just pink flesh and fragile bones. Maya said nothing, keeping her head down and her breathing steady. Let them think what they wanted. She had learned long ago that being underestimated was often the greatest advantage of all. The ship shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace, and Maya felt the familiar sensation of artificial gravity adjusting. Through the small porthole, she could see the sprawling station that housed the consortium's most profitable arena. The Crucible, they called it. A massive structure built around a captured asteroid, its surface bristling with docking bays, luxury suites, and the enormous dome that contained the fighting pit. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy came here to watch blood sport. The wealthy placed bets on their favorites while sipping exotic drinks in climate-controlled boxes. The arena masters grew fat on the profits while the fighters died for entertainment. The cargo hold door hissed open, and the guards entered. They were Nexarian shock troops, their sleek, powered armor gleaming under the harsh lights. Energy weapons hung from their belts, but Maya noticed they carried neural stunners rather than lethal weapons. Dead merchandise was worthless merchandise. "All prisoners, form ranks," barked the lead guard through his helmet's speaker system. "Processing begins now." The larger prisoners shuffled into rough lines, chains clanking. Maya was pushed along with the rest, her small stature making her nearly invisible among the towering forms around her. The Vorthak from earlier stepped on her foot. Whether by accident or design, she couldn't tell. She bit back a grunt of pain and kept moving. The processing facility was a marvel of efficiency and cruelty. Automated systems scanned each prisoner, recording their vital statistics, physical capabilities, and species data. Medical drones drew blood samples and conducted detailed examinations. The information would be used to determine their classification and fighting style. When Maya's turn came, she stood perfectly still as the scanners played across her body. The medical drone's mechanical arms extended, taking her measurements with cold precision. She watched the readouts appear on the nearby screen: height, weight, muscle density, reaction time, cardiovascular capacity. "Classification, Prey Type 7, announced the processing computer in its emotionless voice. "Estimated survival time, 43 seconds. Entertainment value, moderate. Recommended pairing, ambush predator scenarios, group hunts, crowd warm-up events." 43 seconds. That was how long the galaxy's most sophisticated combat analysis system gave her to live. Maya almost smiled but caught herself. Not yet. Soon, but not yet. She was fitted with the standard prey collar, a neural compliance device that would deliver painful shocks if she strayed from designated areas or attempted to access restricted zones. The collar also monitored her vital signs and could deliver a killing dose if the arena masters decided she was no longer entertaining. Her holding cell was small but clean, with basic amenities and a food dispenser that provided nutrition paste. The walls were transparent aluminum, allowing the guards to monitor her constantly. She had a sleeping platform, a waste facility, and nothing else. For 3 days, Maya waited. She ate the tasteless food, exercised in the limited space, and watched the other prisoners through her transparent walls. Some paced like caged animals. Others sat in meditation or prayer. A few had already broken under the psychological pressure and spent their time weeping or raging against the walls. Maya did none of these things. Instead, she observed. She watched the guard rotations and noted their patrol patterns. She studied the facility's layout through her cell's limited view. She listened to conversations and learned the basic structure of the arena hierarchy. Most importantly, she paid attention to the other prisoners and their capabilities. On the 4th day, they came for her. "Time for orientation, little prey," said the guard as her cell door dilated open. 2 more guards flanked him, though Maya wondered why they bothered. She was barely 5 feet tall and weighed less than most beings' weapons. They led her through corridors that grew progressively more elaborate. The utilitarian prisoner areas gave way to ornate passages decorated with trophies from famous fights. Weapons, armor pieces, and preserved body parts from legendary gladiators lined the walls. The message was clear. Only the strongest survived here, and even they eventually fell. The orientation chamber was a theater-style room with holographic displays showing highlights from recent arena events. Maya was seated with a dozen other prey-type prisoners, all small or weak species destined to die for the entertainment of others. The presentation began with stirring music and dramatic narration. "Welcome to the Crucible," boomed the announcer's voice, "where the galaxy's mightiest warriors prove their worth against impossible odds." The hologram showed a massive Thrakari gladiator tearing apart a pack of smaller creatures. Blood flew in graceful arcs while the crowd cheered. The camera focused on individual faces in the audience, beings from dozens of species united in their thirst for violence. "You have been selected to participate in the galaxy's premier combat entertainment experience," the narration continued. "Your role is essential to the spectacle. Without prey, there can be no hunt. Without the weak, the strong cannot prove their dominance." Maya watched footage of previous prey-type contestants. They ran screaming through maze-like arenas while larger predators hunted them down. Some lasted minutes, others mere seconds. All died messily while the crowds roared approval. "Your performance will be evaluated based on entertainment value," the voice explained. "Those who provide exceptional sport may earn additional rations or improved living conditions before their final bout." The presentation ended with a detailed explanation of the collar system and behavioral expectations. Prey contestants were expected to run, hide, and provide sport for their predators. Fighting back was discouraged through increasingly painful neural shocks. Attempting to harm a gladiator would result in immediate termination. As they were led back to their cells, Maya heard the other prey types whimpering and pleading with the guards. Some offered information about their home worlds in exchange for freedom. Others begged to be sold to less violent masters. Maya remained silent. She had learned everything she needed to know. That evening, as she lay on her sleeping platform, Maya began her real preparations. She started with meditation techniques learned during her childhood martial arts training. Her parents had insisted she learn self-defense despite her small size, though they never imagined she would need it in an alien arena. She visualized the arena layouts she had seen in the orientation footage. She mentally cataloged the various predator types and their hunting patterns. She calculated distances, analyzed sight lines, and identified potential weapons among the environmental hazards. Most importantly, she began the psychological preparation that would transform her from prey into predator. The next morning brought news that sent excitement rippling through the prisoner blocks. A special event was being prepared, a grand hunt featuring the station's newest acquisitions. 20 prey types would be released into the grand arena simultaneously, pursued by 5 apex predators in front of a capacity crowd. Maya's name was on the list. "Consider it an honor," said the guard who delivered the news. "The grand arena is reserved for our most spectacular events. Beings travel from across the sector to witness the carnage. You'll die in front of the largest audience possible." The guard seemed to expect terror or pleading, but Maya simply nodded. "When?" she asked calmly. "Tomorrow at prime viewing time. Sleep well, little prey. It will be your last night." As the guard's footsteps faded down the corridor, Maya allowed herself a small smile. Tomorrow, the consortium would learn that their prey classification system had a fundamental flaw. They had never encountered a human who understood the first rule of survival. The most dangerous predator is the one that doesn't look like a predator at all. Maya closed her eyes and began her final preparations. She had work to do. The grand arena was a marvel of engineering and brutality. Built inside a massive spherical chamber, it could be reconfigured for any environment the arena masters desired. For today's grand hunt, they had created a sprawling urban battlefield, a maze of ruined buildings, twisted metal, and scattered debris that would provide countless hiding spots for prey and ambush points for predators. Maya stood with the other 19 condemned beings in the preparation chamber beneath the arena floor. The group was pathetic by any military standard, mostly small, weak creatures from peaceful worlds who had never seen real violence. A few Caltharian merchants, several Zenith researchers, some feline refugees from the outer colonies, all of them shaking with terror. The sound from above was deafening. 50,000 voices roared their bloodthirsty approval as the arena's configuration completed itself. Maya could feel the vibrations through the metal floor as the massive crowd stomped their feet in anticipation. "Magnificent specimen today, beings and sentience," boomed the announcer's voice through the chamber's speakers. 5 apex predators will hunt 20 of the galaxy's most delicate prey species. We have Vorthak warhounds, a Nexarian shadow killer, 2 Gorvani berserkers, and our featured attraction, Keltar the Reaper, undefeated in 37 arena battles. The crowd's roar intensified at the mention of Keltar. Maya had heard of him during her research phase, a massive insectoid creature from a high-gravity death world, standing nearly 10 feet tall with razor-sharp claws and natural armor plating. His species had evolved as pack hunters, but Keltar hunted alone now, each kill increasing his legend. "And let's not forget our prey selection," the announcer continued with mock enthusiasm. "Today we have a special treat, a human female. These delightfully fragile creatures have been providing excellent sport in arenas across the sector. Watch as this soft-skinned morsel tries to survive against the galaxy's deadliest hunters." More cheers erupted from above. Maya noticed several of the prey types looking at her with a mixture of pity and resentment. To them, she was dead weight that would slow them down and draw predator attention. A guard appeared at Maya's side, holding additional equipment. "Special modifications for the human," he announced. "Since your species lacks any natural defensive capabilities, arena regulations require we provide basic survival gear." He handed her a simple utility belt containing a small med kit, a basic cutting tool, and a locator beacon. "The beacon will guide predators to your location if you remain stationary too long," he explained with cruel amusement. "Arena policy prevents prey from simply hiding until time expires." Maya examined the tools with apparent nervousness, playing her role perfectly. The cutting tool was barely more than a sharpened piece of metal, useful for cutting rope or opening containers. The medkit contained basic bandages and pain suppressors, hardly the equipment of a warrior. "Remember," called out another guard, addressing the entire group, "you have 2 hours to survive. Any prey remaining alive when time expires will be granted a quick death instead of being fed to the carnivore pits. Consider it motivation to provide entertaining sport." A massive section of the floor began to rise, creating a platform that would deliver them into the arena proper. The sound from above became overwhelming as the crowd caught sight of their upcoming entertainment. Maya could make out individual voices now, bets being placed, favorites being called out, graphic descriptions of how each prey would likely die. The platform reached arena level, and Maya got her first look at the battlefield. It was even more complex than the holographic previews had suggested. The ruined cityscape stretched in all directions, with buildings ranging from single-story structures to towering skeletal remains of skyscrapers. Rubble was scattered everywhere, creating both obstacles and potential weapons. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows throughout the maze. "Prey creatures, you have 30 seconds to disperse before predator release," announced the arena master. "Remember, entertainment value is your only currency. Die well." Most of the group immediately scattered in panic, running in different directions with no apparent plan. A few of the more intelligent species attempted to form groups, but fear quickly overwhelmed cooperation. Within moments, Maya found herself alone on the platform. She made a show of looking around nervously, then jogged toward a collapsed building about 100 yards away. To the crowd, it looked like she was seeking the nearest hiding spot. In reality, she was heading for the first waypoint in a strategy she had spent all night developing. The building had once been some kind of manufacturing facility. Its lower floors had been partially crushed when the upper levels collapsed, creating a maze of twisted metal and concrete. Maya squeezed through a gap in the debris and found herself in a space that had once been an assembly line. Perfect. She immediately went to work. The cutting tool made short work of several metal strips, which she fashioned into crude but functional weapons. A piece of rebar became a spear. Chemical containers from the manufacturing equipment could be combined with salvaged electronics to create simple explosives. Most importantly, the facility's layout gave her multiple escape routes and excellent sight lines for observation. Maya had barely finished her preparations when the first screams echoed across the arena. The predators had been released. Through a gap in the rubble, she watched Keltar emerge from the central platform. The massive insectoid moved with terrifying grace despite his size, his 4 arms ending in claws that could shred metal. His head swept back and forth as he analyzed the arena, compound eyes taking in every detail. But Maya noticed something that the cheering crowd didn't. Keltar was hunting like his evolutionary programming demanded, seeking movement, tracking fear pheromones, responding to obvious threats. His species had evolved to hunt prey that ran screaming through open terrain. They had never encountered a human who understood the art of misdirection. The other predators spread out across the arena with similar hunting patterns. The Vorthak warhounds used their enhanced hearing to track footsteps and heavy breathing. The Nexarian shadow killer relied on thermal imaging to spot warm bodies. The Gorvani berserkers simply charged toward any source of noise or movement. All of them were hunting animals, not soldiers. They had evolved or been trained for specific types of prey behavior. Maya had studied xenobiology long enough to understand their psychological profiles and, more importantly, their limitations. The first kill happened within minutes. One of the Caltharian merchants had hidden inside a partially collapsed storefront, but his panicked breathing had given away his position to a warhound. The crowd erupted in cheers as the predator dragged its prey into the open for a spectacular finish. Maya watched from her concealed position and began moving to her next waypoint. She had identified 7 strategic locations that would allow her to observe predator behavior while remaining hidden. More importantly, each location offered materials she could use to modify her equipment. Her movement was unlike anything the arena had seen before. While other prey ran in panic or tried to burrow into the deepest hiding spots, Maya moved with purpose. She stayed low, used cover effectively, and most critically, she never moved in straight lines or predictable patterns. At her second position, the remains of a transport hub, she salvaged additional materials and observed the predator's hunting strategies more closely. The Nexarian Shadow Killer was systematically checking thermal signatures, moving from building to building in a grid pattern. Efficient, but predictable. Maya began implementing the second phase of her strategy, misdirection. Using the salvaged electronics and some creative chemistry, she created several small heat sources and planted them in locations she had already vacated. Each device generated a human-level thermal signature for approximately 10 minutes before burning out. Not enough to fool a careful inspection, but sufficient to waste the Shadow Killer's time and energy. The third kill occurred when a group of Zenith researchers attempted to band together for protection. Keltar found them huddled in what they thought was a defensible position. The arena crowd went wild as the massive predator demonstrated why cooperation was futile against overwhelming force. Maya felt no emotion as she watched the slaughter. These beings were already dead from the moment they entered the arena. They had no understanding of tactical thinking, no comprehension of asymmetric warfare, no grasp of the fundamental principles that separated survivors from casualties. They thought like prey because they were prey. Maya thought like a predator. By the end of the first hour, 14 of the original 20 prey had been killed. The survivors were all in hiding, trying to run out the clock. Maya could track their positions based on predator movements and crowd reactions. 2 were trapped in the arena's eastern section, constantly moving to stay ahead of pursuing warhounds. 1 had found a deep hiding spot in the central ruins, but would eventually be discovered by systematic searching. Maya had spent the hour moving through her planned route, gathering intelligence and preparing equipment. Now she was ready for the next phase. She began actively hunting the predators. Her first target was one of the Gorvani berserkers, a massive humanoid creature that relied on brute force and intimidation. Maya had observed its patrol pattern and identified a choke point where the creature would have limited maneuverability. She set her trap in a narrow passage between 2 collapsed buildings. The explosive device was crude but effective, a chemical reaction that would create a brief but intense flash and a cloud of caustic vapor. More importantly, falling debris would block the berserker's escape routes. Maya triggered the trap by throwing a piece of metal down the passage, creating noise that drew the berserker's attention. When the creature charged toward the sound, she detonated her device from a concealed position 50 yards away. The explosion wasn't large enough to kill the berserker outright, but it didn't need to be. The creature was temporarily blinded and trapped in the narrow space, disoriented and vulnerable. Maya moved in with her improvised spear and struck at the berserker's joints and sensory organs with surgical precision. The crowd's cheers died as they realized what was happening. Their entertainment was suddenly becoming very different from what they had paid to see. Maya finished the berserker quickly and efficiently, then disappeared back into the ruins before the other predators could respond to the commotion. She left no trace of her presence except for 1 dead apex predator and a very confused audience. In the premium viewing boxes, arena officials were frantically checking their equipment. Prey didn't kill predators. It was impossible according to every biological and psychological model they possessed. There had to be some mistake, but Maya was just getting started. Her second target was the Nexarian Shadow Killer. This required a more sophisticated approach, since the creature's thermal vision made conventional hiding impossible. Maya had prepared for this, by creating multiple false heat signatures and positioning herself in a location where her own thermal image would blend with residual heat from damaged machinery. When the Shadow Killer came to investigate one of her decoy signatures, Maya struck from above. She had climbed into the skeletal remains of a building's upper floor and waited for the perfect moment. Her improvised spear punched through the creature's neck joint where its armor was weakest, severing major arteries and its neural connection to its advanced sensory equipment. The kill was clean and professional. The Shadow Killer died without understanding what had happened. By now, the arena had fallen into an eerie quiet. The remaining predators were displaying behavior their species had never exhibited before: caution, uncertainty, fear. They had evolved to hunt prey that ran and hid. Maya was doing neither. She was hunting them, and they could sense it even if they couldn't understand it. Keltar, the famous Reaper, had stopped his systematic search pattern and was now moving erratically, constantly checking behind himself. His compound eyes swiveled continuously, searching for threats from unexpected angles. In the VIP section, consortium executives were arguing in harsh whispers. This was not the entertainment their customers had paid for. Instead of watching prey die in spectacular fashion, they were witnessing something unprecedented and disturbing. They were watching a human hunt. Maya checked her remaining equipment and analyzed the battlefield situation. 3 predators remained, along with 2 other prey who were still hiding somewhere in the ruins. She had 40 minutes left before the time limit expired, more than enough time to complete her demonstration. The arena's crowd was no longer cheering. Many were silent, while others muttered uneasily among themselves. Some had begun leaving their seats, suddenly uncomfortable with the entertainment they had come to enjoy. They were beginning to understand that Earth's prey classification might have been a mistake. Maya smiled as she moved toward her next target. Soon, the entire galaxy would learn why humans were never meant to be victims. The silence in the grand arena was deafening. 50,000 beings who had come to watch a massacre were now witnessing something that challenged everything they believed about the natural order of the galaxy. Maya moved through the ruins like a ghost, her small form barely visible among the twisted metal and concrete. She had eliminated 2 apex predators in less than an hour, and now the remaining hunters were experiencing something their species had never encountered: being hunted by their prey. In the premium observation deck, Arena Master Vexithar was receiving increasingly frantic reports from his security team. The massive consortium official's tentacles writhed with agitation as he processed information that should have been impossible. Confirmed kills on designated predators 7 and 12, reported his head of security, a scarred Nexarian veteran. Analysis of the attack patterns suggests advanced tactical knowledge and weapons improvisation capabilities far beyond recorded human parameters. Vexithar's compound eyes fixed on the arena floor, where his thermal sensors were tracking the remaining combatants. 3 predators, 2 prey besides the human, and 1 anomaly that the sensors couldn't quite classify. That anomaly was Maya, who had learned to mask her heat signature by coating herself with coolant from damaged machinery. "How is this possible?" demanded Council Representative Zeph High, a wealthy Vorthak who had wagered heavily on a quick conclusion. "Our intelligence reports clearly state that humans are a prey species. No natural weapons, minimal physical capabilities, fragile bone structure." Vexthar said nothing, but his internal analysis systems were already providing disturbing data. Humans were indeed physically weak compared to most galactic species, but they were displaying cognitive capabilities that the classification system had completely missed. Tool creation, strategic thinking, adaptability. Most terrifying of all, the ability to turn their perceived weakness into a tactical advantage. On the arena floor, Maya was preparing her assault on the 3rd predator. The remaining warhound was larger and more experienced than the first 2 predators she had eliminated. It had been tracking one of the other surviving prey through the eastern section of the arena when the sounds of her previous kills reached its enhanced hearing. Now, it was hunting her. The warhound was following her scent trail, moving with the patient determination of a creature that had never failed to catch its prey. Its enhanced senses could detect the trace chemicals humans left behind, the unique pheromone signature that marked her species. To the warhound's evolutionary programming, following this trail was as natural as breathing. Maya was counting on exactly that response. She had spent 20 minutes creating a false trail that led through the arena's most complex terrain, doubling back through areas with multiple levels and confusing sightlines. The warhound followed dutifully, its predatory instincts overriding any caution it might have learned from the fate of its fellow hunters. Maya watched from a concealed position as the massive creature padded through the ambush site she had prepared. The warhound was impressive. 8 feet of muscle and predatory evolution, with jaws that could snap a Vorthak's spine and claws that could shred battle armor. Under normal circumstances, it could have killed 20 humans without difficulty. But these were not normal circumstances. Maya had learned during her xenobiology studies that warhounds hunted by scent and sound. But their eyesight was relatively poor. They relied on other senses to identify targets, which meant they could be fooled by careful manipulation of their environment. She triggered her trap when the warhound reached the center of the kill zone. Instead of explosives this time, she used simple physics. A carefully positioned lever system brought several tons of rubble down on the creature's hindquarters, pinning it without killing it immediately. Then Maya stepped into the open where the warhound could see her. The effect was immediate and profound. The warhound's enhanced senses confirmed what its eyes were telling it. This small, fragile creature was responsible for trapping it. The predator that had terrified countless prey species was now at the mercy of something it had been programmed to see as food. Maya approached slowly. Her improvised spear held ready. She could see the confusion in the warhound's eyes, the cognitive dissonance between its instincts and reality. The creature made several attempts to reach her with its claws, but the rubble held it firmly in place. "You're probably wondering what went wrong," Maya said quietly, knowing the warhound couldn't understand her words but wanting to vocalize her thoughts anyway. "Your species evolved to hunt prey that runs in straight lines and hides in obvious places. You never encountered prey that thinks 3 moves ahead." She struck quickly and precisely, ending the warhound's confusion with a thrust to its brainstem. The creature died instantly, adding another impossible kill to her growing tally. In the observation deck, pandemonium was beginning to spread. Word of the unprecedented events was reaching other parts of the station, and arena officials were fielding increasingly urgent communications from consortium leadership. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving priority channels from the Vorthak High Command, the Nexarian Intelligence Service, and the Gorvani War Council. They all want immediate data on the humans' capabilities." Vexithar's tentacles curled tighter around his control console. This was no longer just an arena match that had gone wrong. This was potentially a galaxy-wide intelligence failure that could have massive political and military implications. If humans had been misclassified as prey, how many other assumptions about Earth and its inhabitants were equally wrong? Maya was already moving toward her next target, Keltar, the Reaper. The massive insectoid had survived 37 arena battles by being smarter than his fellow predators, and he was demonstrating that intelligence now by attempting to leave the arena entirely. The Reaper had climbed to the upper levels of a partially collapsed skyscraper and was trying to reach the arena's maintenance areas. Maya could see him through her binoculars, a salvaged piece of equipment she had found in the ruins. The creature's 4 arms were working desperately to tear through the reinforced barriers that separated the arena floor from the rest of the station. Maya smiled. Panic made even apex predators predictable. She began her ascent through the building's remains, using her smaller size and superior climbing ability to navigate passages that would be impossible for the massive insectoid. Humans might be weak compared to other galactic species, but they were also incredibly agile and adaptable. Maya reached Keltar's position through a route the creature hadn't even considered. While he focused on breaking through the barriers ahead of him, she approached from below through a collapsed section of flooring. When she emerged directly behind the Reaper, the effect was immediate. Keltar spun around with shocking speed, all four arms extended and claws ready to shred anything within reach. But Maya had anticipated exactly that response. She ducked under his swipe and struck at his leg joints with her spear, not trying to cause immediate damage, but to limit his mobility. Keltar was faster than the other predators, but he was also heavier and less stable on the uneven surfaces of the collapsed building. The fight that followed was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. Maya used every advantage her smaller size and human agility provided, staying inside the Reaper's reach where his massive claws couldn't generate full power. She struck at joints, sensory organs, and other vulnerable points while constantly moving to prevent him from bringing his superior strength to bear. The crowd watched in stunned silence as their greatest gladiator was systematically dismantled by something they had classified as prey. Every move Maya made demonstrated capabilities that shouldn't have existed in a prey species: spatial reasoning, tactical awareness, the ability to exploit environmental advantages. Keltar made one final desperate attempt to end the fight, lunging forward with all four arms in a killing strike that should have ended any creature foolish enough to face him in direct combat. Maya sidestepped at the last possible moment and drove her spear through the gap in his natural armor, where his head connected to his thorax. The Reaper, undefeated champion of the arena, collapsed with a crash that shook the entire building. Maya stood over the body for a moment, then looked up at the thousands of beings watching from the arena seating. Even at this distance, she could see that many were leaving. Others sat in shock, unable to process what they had witnessed. 4 apex predators, all dead, killed by a single human female who weighed less than any of their weapons. But Maya wasn't finished yet. There were still 2 prey hiding in the arena and 30 minutes remaining on the clock. Maya tracked down the first, a Caltharian merchant who had found a deep hiding spot in the arena's drainage system. She found him curled in a ball, shaking with terror and clearly in shock from watching the carnage above. "It's over," Maya told him gently. "The predators are all dead. Come with me." She led the traumatized alien to the arena's central platform, then went to collect the second survivor, a young zenith who had shown impressive survival instincts by staying mobile and avoiding the predators' search patterns. When the time limit expired, 3 beings stood alive on the arena floor, but only one of them had done any hunting. Arena Master Vexathar descended to the arena floor with a full security escort, his face a mask of barely controlled emotion. The crowd had largely dispersed by now, many of them heading for the nearest transportation off the station. Word was already spreading throughout the galaxy about what they had witnessed. "Designation Human 7742, Vexathar said formally, though his voice carried undertones that Maya recognized as fear. "You have completed the survival challenge in a manner not anticipated by arena protocols." Maya nodded calmly. "I survived. That was the objective." "The manner of your survival raises questions about your species classification," the arena master continued. "The Consortium Science Council will require extensive debriefing about human capabilities and tactical doctrine." Maya almost laughed. After everything they had just witnessed, they still didn't understand. They thought this was about military training or hidden technology or some kind of genetic enhancement they had missed. They couldn't comprehend that what they had witnessed was simply human nature. "You want to understand what happened here?" Maya asked, looking directly at Vexathar's compound eyes. "I'll tell you exactly what happened. You made the same mistake every predator species makes. You assumed that because we look weak, we are weak. You thought that because we don't have claws or armor or enhanced senses, we're helpless. She gestured toward the arena around them, where the bodies of 4 apex predators lay scattered among the ruins. But you missed the most important thing about humans. We're not just prey that learned to use tools. We're not just a species that got lucky with technology. We are the apex predators of our world. We didn't reach the top of our food chain by being bigger or stronger or faster than everything else. Maya's voice carried across the arena, picked up by the broadcasting systems and transmitted to viewers across the galaxy. We became apex predators by being smarter than everything that tried to eat us. We learned to think ahead, to plan, to use our environment as a weapon. Most importantly, we learned that the most dangerous predator is the one that doesn't look dangerous at all. She paused, letting that sink in. Every species in your consortium evolved on worlds where the strongest survived. You understand power in terms of size and speed and natural weapons, but humans evolved on a death world where intelligence was the only advantage that mattered. We learned to hunt creatures bigger and stronger and more dangerous than ourselves. We learned to turn our weaknesses into strengths. Maya looked up at the observation deck where consortium officials were frantically taking notes. You classified us as prey because we're small and soft and fragile. But that's exactly why we're the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. We look harmless right up until the moment we kill you. The arena was completely silent now, except for the hum of recording equipment capturing every word. So, when you go back to your science council and your high commands, tell them this. Humans aren't prey. We're the predators who learn to look like prey. And that makes us the most dangerous species you'll ever encounter. Maya dropped her improvised weapons and walked toward the exit, leaving behind 4 dead apex predators and a galaxy that would never make the mistake of underestimating humanity again. Within hours, emergency sessions were being convened on a dozen homeworlds. The human classification was immediately changed from Prey Type 7 to Apex Predator status. Extreme caution required. But it was already too late. Word of what had happened in the arena spread faster than official communications. Every slave raid on human colonies now faced resistance from beings who understood exactly what they were dealing with. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Appearances could be deceiving, and the most dangerous predator was often the one that looked like prey. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not with ships or weapons or grand declarations, but with one small woman who refused to die for someone else's entertainment. The hunt was over. But the real hunting was just beginning.